With the 2024 NBA Draft quickly approaching at the end of the month on today's Warriors Today, going to take a look at some top Warriors draft targets at pick number 52, who's going to be available, who would fit with Golden State. But first, sub for Warriors dubs. We have you covered with the best, most informative, most insightful, most thought-provoking Warriors content right here on YouTube. That's a big reason why we're approaching 63,000 subscribers. So if you want to stay in the know with all things Dubs year-round, hit that sub button right now to support the show. What Golden State needs when you canvass their roster and look ahead to the NBA Draft. There are 4 needs that we really want to hone in on here as far as the basketball strategy for building this team. Perimeter shooting, backup ball handler, off the bounce scoring, and rim protection. Those are the 4 most glaring needs for the Warriors looking ahead to 2024-2025 with where this roster is right now. And from my view, you likely do not get a starting level or all-around talent with the 52nd overall pick. But what you can get is a specialist which helps Golden State in the areas that we just did discuss. And keep in mind, there have been some really good second-round picks throughout the history of the NBA Draft. And recently, players like Jalen Brunson, Nikola Jokic, Draymond Green, drafted in the second round. So the hit rate is low, but you can still get a very solid player with this draft selection. So that's why this coaching staff, the scouting department, they have to do their due diligence. So without further ado, the first of 5 players who we want to talk about on today's show is Jalen Bridges, the forward out of Baylor. Now, any of these players are going to last until 52 because they have question marks pertaining to their game. But Jalen Bridges is a textbook 3-and-D role player. You bring him in off the bench, he can knock down the triple from time to time, and he can defend at a really high level. 23 years old, so he's a little bit older as a senior. Grew up in Fairmont, West Virginia. Played the wing spot for the Baylor Bears. Pretty good size at 6'6", 3/4", so nearly 6'7", and he's 213 pounds. His numbers last year for Scott Drew, 31.7 minutes per game, 12-plus points per game, pretty solid rebounder at nearly 6 per night. What I like there, the defense. More than a steal per game, and then the efficiency as well as an offensive player. 46.5% from the field, 41+% from three-point range. Here's what the Ringer's Kevin O'Connor had to say about him in his draft guide. Dynamic shooter, clean mechanics who can run off screens or take threes off the dribble, a competitive defender with a long wingspan who can switch screens to defend multiple positions or fight through them and slide his feet to mirror opposing shot creators. That sounds like a player that would work in this Warriors system, on this Warriors team, and checks the boxes for what the Warriors need to fulfill as far as building up their team. So what is your take? What type of player do you want the Warriors to draft at number 52 overall? Let me know down in the comment section right now. You have the opportunity to play the GM, play the scout, and be a part of that Warriors organization. Coming in at number 2, Branden Carlson, a center out of Utah who's fallen under the radar for a lot of casual basketball fans out there. And for me, when I watch Branden Carlson play, here is the 7-footer that Golden State is missing. They've been one of the smaller NBA teams, and I know that when they were winning NBA championships, that wasn't as much of an issue, but a lot of teams across the NBA and in the West have started getting more physical and bigger and taller. A lot of that happened a few years ago with teams trying to combat and stop what the Warriors were doing. Now it's time for Golden State to catch up with the rest of the league. Carlson also spaces the floor very efficiently. And I'm always a fan of bigs who can shoot the rock a little bit. And I'm not always asking you to just be so efficient from downtown. Can you at least stretch the floor, hit the elbow, hit the baseline jumper? Can you be reliable in that area? Because that helps your offense out and it puts pressure on the opposing defense. Another older player here who is 25 years old, grew up in South Jordan, Utah, and then played his college basketball there at the Utes. 7 feet 220, a little bit light, a little bit thin, but the number's pretty good. I'm willing to take a chance on a player in the second round like this to give you 10 to 15 minutes per night. 17 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, a block and a half. So he might be a little bit slighter, but he can protect the rim, 50% from the field and nearly 38% from three-point range. A big who can shoot, a big who can defend the rim. Warriors definitely need that. Coming in at number 3, Antonio Reeves, the guard out of Kentucky. John Calipari, now with Arkansas. Kentucky, another disappointing season last year. But for Reeves, this is a player who flat out puts the ball in the hoop and he gets buckets. And because of that, he's a fun player to watch in my estimation. He is a microwave type of scorer who is 23 and a half years old, senior. So experienced players, but experienced players are a part of this list because the Warriors can win and contend right now. And I want a player who's not raw because having a player sit on your bench doesn't really do you any good. Reeves is 6'4 and a half and a $187. Last year with the Wildcats, he filled it up and he was efficient. 20 points per game, 51+% from the field, and nearly 45% on his three-point shots. He's not going to give you much in terms of creating, distributing, helping others get their shot. But if you need a player to come in off the bench to give you some solid minutes in scoring the basketball and the production there as far as the scoring category, Antonio Reeves can bring you that. Oso Ighodaro, a player who we've talked about here on the show out of Marquette. Kind of a modern-day big who could play forward, can play center. To me, he looks like Trace Jackson Davis, who plays a lot like Draymond. He's not going to take threes like Draymond will occasionally, but what I mean there when I scout him, he can pass from the high post. Little entry pass down low. He can find the backdoor cutter. He has that type of knowledge and IQ to his game. A lot of high energy, willing defender. There's also a chance, because of what I mentioned, that he's not going to be there at 52 overall. I don't think there's any way that he sneaks into the first round. But could he go in the 40s? Definitely an opportunity there for a team that is big, needy. He's not a 7-footer. 6'9 and a half, 222 pounds, little bit of a wing. And I think that's a little bit of a stretch. Like, as far as him being a wing, I like him more so down low. Not going to shoot the basketball all that much, kind of has an awkward type of shot. And you look at his production in 36 games last year for a very successful Marquette team. 13.5 points per, 7 rebounds, so he's going to be active on the window. Almost 3 assists. That's really good for a big. And then the stocks, steals and blocks, 1.1 steals. He'll get his hand in passing lanes. And then 1.3 blocks. So that's a really sizable impact on the defensive side of the floor and 57.5% from the field. Here's what the Ringer's Kevin O'Connor had to say about him. Well-rounded defender, best suited in a switching scheme next to a rim-protecting center. Has the quickness to play out on the perimeter. That's definitely an aspect of his game that I like. And the size to help at the rim. Brings mobility, intelligence, grit to the defense. Playmaking hub, who could be a connective piece in the NBA with his feel and two-man actions. Well, Warriors, sounds like a good fit there with everything that O'Connor and myself said. Lastly, some people are going to like this. Some people are going to dislike it. Bronny James. I think that Bronny James could be available with pick number 52, and we'll talk about him coming up. First, let's pass along this deal thanks to our friends at Fanatics. Warriors draft hats on sale right now at chatsports.com/Warriors draft hats. You have the flat brim, but also the dad hat style, the colors, the logo, the look. It's clean, and whoever the Warriors take at 52, or whoever they take in the draft, they'll be rocking that hat on draft night. So let's get LeBron to Golden State. That is the reason why we're talking about Bronny James here. You put LeBron James on the Golden State Warriors, and I do think that they can compete for an NBA championship. You have LeBron, you have Steph. They're still 2 top 10 players in the NBA. You got to find a way to build up your depth. Can Bronny James be the way of doing that? Honestly, I don't think so. I'm not high on Bronny James. I thought he should have continued to mature his basketball game, go back to college, work on his flaws, because I'm not sure he's an NBA player right now, if at all. And Bronny doesn't always play smart basketball. He's also an undersized guard. He does not have the size of his pops, who's 6'9", and one of the most unique, athletic, physical specimens that we've ever seen. At 6'9", 260, with the way that he moves, he can play all 5 positions. Now, it's not to say Bronny James can't get better. He's still under 20 years old, but he's 6'1.5" and 210 pounds. So he's small. And then on top of that, what did he do at USC last year? Of course, he came off the medical incident, but he barely played. Less than 20 minutes per night. Under 5 points per game. He shot 36.5% from the field. Less than 27% from three-point range. I'm just not sure that he's an NBA player. Can he become and develop into an NBA player if he goes back to college? Yeah, but it's too late for that. He's entering the draft, and that's said and done. Here's what KOC had to say about Bronny. High IQ decision maker and an ambidextrous player. Isn't a lead guard, but certainly has the passing feel to make his teammates better. Disruptive defender who fights hard, plays with active hands, and displays the athleticism to log chase down blocks and high-effort highlights. So he's a high-effort player coming in off the bench. Doesn't move the needle for me. But if it helps you get LeBron James, it makes you better. I think that Golden State should take a similar approach prior to prior drafts, I should say, and draft a player with proven success and polish who can play right away. Because the Warriors are cash-strapped here. They do not have a lot of money, so you got to be smart with how you build this team. You get a solid rookie who's experienced, seasoned, has polish. He can play right away for the cheap. That's what you need. You don't need a developmental prospect. Would you draft Bronny if it meant that LeBron signs with the Warriors? Of course, it hinges on an opt-out as well. Y for yes, N for no. Don't forget to hit that bell icon, turn on your notifications. Therefore, anytime we push out a video, you will be notified. And don't forget to hit that sub button. In addition to that, it's Warriors Today by Chat Sports. Thanks for watching.